welcome to another Soul-Centered Conversations. I am Damali Robertson, and I have a great conversation that we want to get started today. And today I have friends, my book club, Christine, Julie, and Chad. We're here to talk about politics, y'all, and the voting. Voting, we must vote. And so that's what we're gathered here for. And the thing that I am mindful of as we kind of enter this conversation is we all come from various voting backgrounds. But I have a stepfather who is kind of the kind of audience that I'm thinking of today, where he's kind of like, well, I don't really believe in voting for the lesser of two evils. I don't believe in necessarily supporting someone just because, you know, they're not the worst possible person. You know, he's in this place, and, you know, historically growing up with him, I've heard this kind of conversation about, you know, wanting to finally vote for someone that actually aligns with your values, that actually speaks your language, that actually, you know, so when President Obama was up for election, I remember talking to him, and he actually did vote for President Obama because he said, you know, I got to do that. You know, I'm a Black man in America. This is an imperative. So I feel like we're at that place of imperative again. Like, we are people of many identities, we're people of many backgrounds, we are people of diverse experiences, all of us sitting here. And what I know for sure is that none of that aligns with the current administration. And so I wanted to hear a little bit more from you all about why this is so important at this moment, knowing, and we're going to get to the Biden-Harris unpacking a little bit, but knowing that, you know, maybe these are not ideal candidates in some ways. You know, maybe there's some problematic stuff there, but then why still would we kind of take the path of putting our vote in that direction?
Well, it makes me think about, one of the statements from Brian Stephen, who wrote Just Mercy, who says, you know, even if you're not voting for yourself, vote for someone else, right? And so this Trump administration, now listen, I have lived under presidents who I did not vote for. So for me, this is not, I'm a Democrat, I don't like Republicans. For me, this is like foundational, fundamental human rights issues. And just from the beginning of the Trump administration, it's just been one thing after another of, again, just basic human rights. Like, I'm not talking about political party. I'm talking about kids in cages, like what's going on here. Sort of people feeling able to be openly racist, and Heather Heyer being killed in Charlottesville, and it's just, and all of these flouting of laws that I'm reading about. Like, this reporter has told us repeatedly, these politicians are telling us that this is illegal, and I'm just watching nothing happen. And I'm just getting confused about, like, how is there anyone who's supposed to, make this not happen if it is illegal? And then, of course, this pandemic has been out of control. So while I'm a pretty consistent voter, this feels like a different thing. And so this idea, this idea of looking for the perfect candidate, there is no perfect candidate. Even Cha was working on the Obama campaign. We're like, oh, that's so nice that he's running. Isn't that cute? And then he won, right? And as proud as I am of that, and as much alignment as it did have with Obama, he's not perfect to me either. But there's this line between, like, okay, we have a basic sense of this person is thoughtful and trying to do something, even if I disagree with that or this or that. Which right now is kind of like, we don't even have space to be like, well, tell me about this particular policy. This again is like, you cannot break laws in this country. You cannot take away human rights. You cannot, abuse the environment. And me go, well, I don't know, the other guy, this is like very fundamental issues that, have to be addressed now.
And I think you made such eloquent points about the pandemic, the hundreds of thousands of lives that have been lost, and with a president who was aware of the severity of it and aware of the potential danger. So there's a pandemic, there's the white nationalism coming from the highest office. There's, for me, he's like an internet troll. Like, so to me, it's not even respectable conversations. It's this bullying that represents, I think a lot of the history of this country is found on bullying and brutality and violence. And I see that in his language, that it is like this kind of call for violence, I see. And so even thinking about him rolling back anti-racism trainings for federal employees is like just some of the things. Those are just a few of the things that are problematic. And I think, like you pointed out, and I want to just double down on this point and then make room for someone else, is that I know personally, to Julie's point, I was critical of President Obama in many moments. Like, and when I think about his record on deportation, when I think about the fact that so many Black lives were actually lost during his administration's time, when I think about, even the schools and the way education has continued to be a trouble area for this country. They're all things that I could say, hey, President Obama, let's talk about this because this ain't quite working the way that I'd hoped. And that's, I think, the point, is being able to be critical, to have some feedback that isn't necessarily just praise, but having it also heard and having someone open to be like, oh, I didn't get that right. Oh, okay. So what can I learn from the people who pay my salary, right? So I'd love to open it up to Christine Archa for additional thoughts.
Yeah, excuse me. I would like to add on to like what both of you said. I just keep thinking the phrase harm reduction keeps coming to mind. Biden was so far down my list of preferred candidates when there were 3 million people in the primaries. But I do feel, I think to Damali's point, that we get him in office to stop the deep harm that Trump is doing. And I mean, it's going to be years to undo what he has done. Every week there's something new and awful. This recent news about the forced hysterectomies of women who are in those detention centers it's unconscionable. And his push to silence the media, so we're not able, and to say that the media is fake, news is fake, so we're not even able anymore to figure out what's true and not true. And I just, I understand the people who want to vote with someone who aligns with their conscience. And I actually have never admitted this publicly, but I did vote for Nader in the fateful election of 2000. Oh my God, I was so embarrassed the next morning. But I heard Alice Walker speak like 2 weeks before the election, and someone asked her who she's voting for, and she wouldn't say, but she said this whole thing of voting for the lesser of two evils. I will never vote for evil in any form again. And that really landed with me at that stage of my life. Like, yeah, we shouldn't be voting for evil. This is terrible. So I kind of feel like there's this little part of me that understands the people who are saying no, but in general, but in this particular election, I can't fathom it, because 4 more years with Trump is a nightmare. And, if Biden is the president, we can push. I feel like things will not continue to backslide, at least, and then get him in there and we can push for the things that we want that are more progressive. We can push for the policies that are going to help people and sort of stop the blood loss, so that's my hope. And I do feel very strongly about it. It cannot be Trump. It cannot be.
Yeah, I agree. I can just add something brief because I agree with everything that you all have said. I remember when Trump was elected, I remember crying the night he was elected. I remember crying the next morning. And even then, I didn't know how bad it would be. Like, because I think there's a part of me that assumed there would be some competency there. And I think I knew I would not agree with his politics. I didn't know how much, sort of how bad it would get, even, with the human rights abuses and the violence and everything that he has brought, that I don't know if I anticipated that, if I'm being quite honest. I thought it would get bad. I didn't know it would get this bad, but I didn't think his entire administration would be just incompetent. This pandemic has just illustrated it perfectly for folks. I can't even, when I hear about voters who are undecided now, I'm like, how are you undecided? Like, this is pretty straightforward. So yeah, with Biden, yeah, even from a criminal justice sort of perspective, I know Biden sort of authoring the crime bill, Kamala Harris being a prosecutor, they're not perfect candidates, but yeah, we have to get off this path we're on, because I do worry if we can make it another 4 years, because this has been worse than I thought, and I thought it would be bad.